Welcome to the Abundance Journey, the show that helps spiritual entrepreneurs create an abundance mindset that accelerates revenue. Secretly, everything you experience in your life is actually abundance. Once you understand how to activate abundance, you find yourself in flow with your business and clients, so it's easy to create the revenue you want. The Abundance Journey is the only show that activates abundance for you, so you enjoy rapid results in your business. Here's your host, the Abundance Ambassador, Elaine Starling.
Oh man, have you ever come across a book that just blows you away? I mean, it really lights you up inside because there are so many profound messages that just really hit home. Well, I was incredibly fortunate. I found this amazing book that I read cover to cover in about 48 hours because it was so good. It's called The Magic of Surrender by Kute Blackson. And I got to tell you, I saw his name, Kute, and I'm like, his parents are not pronouncing his name correctly. It's Cutie. I know it's Kute Blackson. That's got to be it. But you heard it here first. So I just have such a massive treat for you today because we're actually getting to chat with the author of The Magic of Surrender, Kute Blackson. Now, I know I promised I wouldn't fangirl too much, and I lied. I completely lied because this guy's freaking awesome. A great friend of mine, Gail Lynn Goodwin, she is the founder of Inspire Me Today. She interviewed Kute, and she's like, he is one of my top 10 all-time favorite, oh my gosh, great people. So I am thrilled that I get to interview Kute. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this guy so you can be equally blown away. He's a beloved inspirational speaker and transformational leader. He speaks at countless events that he organizes around the world, as well as other events, including A-Fest, Young Presidents Organization, and the Entrepreneurs Organization. He's a member of the Transformational Leadership Council, which is a select group of 100 of the world's foremost authorities in the personal development industry. He's the winner of the 2019 Unity New Thought Walden Award. Kute is widely considered a next-generation leader in the field of personal development, which is why it's such a huge honor to have him join us today. Kute has a really important mission that drives him and really is kind of the foundation. He'll tell you all about it, but it's truly to awaken and inspire people across the planet to access inner freedom, live authentically, and fulfill their true life's purpose. Kute, welcome.
Thanks for having me. That's a beautiful introduction.
Oh, I am thrilled to pieces. And I know that I'm going to go off on tangents right away. So what I want to do is set our intention. Our intention is how we truly partner with the divine to bring all of this wonderful innovation through our conversation. We're going to hold it in silence for 78 seconds. And I'm not going to go into any detail. We're just going to jump in and play right away because I know you're an old hand with this sort of thing. So here we go. In love and light, we hold the intention that we welcome inner freedom. So we receive divine guidance to live fulfilling, authentic, and abundant lives. Thank you, divine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done. We give thanks, and so it is. Wow. Kute, obviously you are a master at that. I felt my whole body opening and expanding. That was intense. I'm sure you've never done this before on an interview, but I just so enjoy connecting with that energy because I love where you're coming from. I absolutely adore your book. I want to share the cover with everybody so they know what we're talking about here. I got the Kindle version because I love to take notes, and I've got so many quotes from you that I'm saving, and I'm quoting you because it's so important. It's so vital that people understand the information that is available to them when they're willing to welcome it in. And I know you have an incredible passion about it. Could you tell us a bit about why you got started and why it was really important for you to write this book?
You know, this was not the book I wanted to write. This was not the book I thought to write. This was not the book I planned to write. I had my own agenda, to be honest. My first book, You Are the One, had come out, was a national bestseller. And I thought I would be clever and smart. So as I started brainstorming my second book, I had an entire whiteboard full of ideas, different ideas of creative ideas. And I mean, I wouldn't bore you with the titles, but probably 100 different topics. And books I thought my publisher would want, books I thought would get me on the bestseller list, books I thought my audience would want. But none of those books, none of those topics really resonated deeply. And the only word that really felt true and real was the word surrender. And that's when I knew it was like something energetically pulled me. And that's when I knew this is the book I was supposed to write. And so it wasn't the book I wanted to write, but it was the book that was seeking to be written. And so I had to surrender to the book about surrender so that and from that moment, everything flowed. And as I look back on my life, everything about my life began to make sense. I'll take you back, then I'll come forward. But I was born in Ghana, West Africa. My father's from Ghana. My mother's Japanese. I grew up in London. My mother and father met. It's a whole nother story, and agreed to get married without ever having met. And they couldn't speak the same language. He couldn't speak Japanese. She couldn't speak English. So they surrendered from the very beginning. And so my first memories as a young boy was seeing a crippled woman crawling on the floor. She picks up the gravel sand that this man walks on, wipes it on her face, and stands up. We could call it a miracle. Week after week, I grew up seeing blind people see and deaf people hear. The same man whose hand she picked up would look at a person in a wheelchair and say, "Why are you in this wheelchair? Stand up." And he put his hands on them and healed them, so to speak. And so this man was my father. He was considered the miracle man of Africa and built 300 churches in Ghana, West Africa, hundreds of thousands of followers, a huge church in London. So I grew up in this sort of spiritual tradition, meditating with my mother as she grew up in the Buddhist tradition, going to church with my father and mother on Sundays. And so it was I grew up with a sense of possibility, that everything was possible, that the miraculous for me didn't seem out of the ordinary. It just seemed kind of normal. And so as a young boy, I started speaking in my father's churches when I was age 8. I was ordained at 14, and I became a minister and responsible for many, many people. I was deemed the successor to my father. And so in that moment, I knew that this was not my path. I knew that this was not my destiny. But I think, like many of us, I was too afraid to speak my truth. My fear was, if I really dared to be myself, if I dared to speak my truth, then I would lose my father's love. And so for 4 years, I tried to be who I thought that I needed to be in order to get love, validation, and approval. I tried to be who I thought the world wanted me to be, and I became miserable and depressed in the process. And so when I turned 18, is when I got a very strong calling in my soul. And I always tell people that when you follow your soul doesn't care about convenience. Your soul cares about evolution. Your soul doesn't care about comfort. Your soul cares about growth. And I found that whenever you listen to your soul and you don't compromise your soul, you will always end up in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing, even though the pathway that you take may not be the one that you most expect. And so I decided to listen to my soul, and that was to renounce everything, to leave the church, which means I had to have this conversation with my father. So I decided as an 18-year-old kid, where my life really started was when I had the conversation with my father, and I told him I'm not taking over. And we didn't speak for 2 years. And long story short, I knew I was called because I looked into my future. And I saw that I could follow the expected path. But if, to age 20, age 30, age 40, age 50, age 60, if I didn't have myself, if I didn't have my soul, if I didn't have my integrity, what kind of success is that? And so I followed my soul. And long story short, I ended up winning a green card in the green card lottery that enabled me to come to the US, 2 suitcases, $800 in my pocket, following a dream. And that began my journey. And I came to the US and found mentors and teachers. And, you know, as a young boy, I grew up reading many of the self-help books, everyone from Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. And so to the Eastern mystics, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and these folks were they were my heroes. And when I came to America, I came here specifically because I wanted to meet them. I wanted to go into this field of personal growth and teach and give seminars. I would sneak into my father's church in the middle of the night with the lights off and the empty chairs. And as a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, I would speak to the empty chairs, imagining I was giving seminars to thousands of people. And so I felt this deep calling in my soul. And I came to the US and found them and learned from them and studied with them. And that began a whole trajectory of a journey. And so when I realized that the book was about surrender, all of my life began to make sense. All of the things I had to go through in my life began to make sense when I was 18, came to the US, met these teachers. I got to the point where it's a whole nother story, but I think I write about this in my book where I wanted to do a TV show when I kind of let that go. And I ended up traveling. And again, that sometimes not getting what you thought you wanted is actually grace. And many times when we don't get what we think we want, it seems like the worst thing in that moment from the ego's perspective, but we're not able to see the entire picture. Yes. And somehow the worst thing ends up being the best thing. And so...
That is so true. That is so true. I want to interrupt you really quickly because I feel compelled to share a quick story with you. A few months ago, I was in my kitchen washing dishes, and I was just thinking about how sometimes you're working on a project and it all comes together faster than you can imagine. It's just a breeze. And then there's other times when you're working on something and it's a slog. Problem after problem comes in. And I was like, why does this happen? And I suddenly felt and heard a really, really loud, forceful voice in my body. And it said, when you deny your power is denied to you. When you acknowledge your power is shown to you. You are more powerful than you can imagine. And I was like, holy cow, how have I been denying my power? And I realized that sometimes it's through the words I use. Yes. I choose to avoid using words like try or need or want. There are certain words that are disempowering. And I just so respect and admire you for hearing the call of your soul. Yeah. You didn't have a guarantee.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I had a choice, to be honest. I had a choice, but I didn't feel like I had a choice. And at the deeper level, the calling felt stronger because I felt like to choose anything other than my soul was a death. I'd be living dead anyway. And so there was, as a young man, there was something that opened. And like, even with the book, The Magic of Surrender, it's like, I could have pretended and written another book that I thought might do well, but I would know. Yeah. You would feel it. You would feel it when you read the book that this was a book that it doesn't have, there's something that's not coming through it. And so for me, the book about surrender was really a calling for me. It stopped being about trying to get more readers or sell to a publisher. It was something that had a life of its own. Yeah. And I realized that life had been preparing me to write this book for many years because in 2016, my mother was diagnosed with stomach cancer and she lived for a year. And so I was living in Los Angeles. She lived in London. I began flying back and forth from LA to London every month for 1 year to be with her for 1 week. 1 week a month, I'd fly back, be with her in her chemo sessions. And what started out as the worst year of my life became the best year of my life because I got to just be with my mother. You know, the only regret I really had in my life was not spending more time with my mom, to be honest. And so I really realized what was really important in life, which was love and, you know, these special moments. And it was such a profound time. And I remember about 6 to 7 months in the process, the doctors finally said to us, there's nothing that we can do. You're going to die. They told my mother, like, so get your affairs in order. It could be days, could be weeks, could be months. We don't know how long. And I remember my heart broke into a million pieces. Just realized that the woman I loved the most would no longer be in my life. I'd never be able to have another conversation. I'd never be able to sit and have a cup of tea. And the reality hit me, and I cried. And I looked at my mother in the parking lot of the hospital, and I asked my mother two questions. The first one was, "Mom, are you afraid?" And my mother looked at me and she said, "No, I'm not afraid, because I know I'm not this body. This body is a temporary vehicle for my soul." I knew that my mother was free. She knew who she was. That's the true wealth, so to speak. Then I asked my mother another question. "Mom, what can I felt like I was not a good son, even though I loved her. I felt like I didn't spend enough time with my mom. And so I said, "Mom, what can I do for you in your final days? What can I buy you? Where can I take you?" And she said, "There's nothing I need and there's nothing I want. The only thing I want and the only thing I need is what God wants for my life. Don't need anything else." That was the moment I realized that she was free. She was not attached to living. She was not attached to dying. She just was surrendered to the highest unfolding of her soul's destiny. And that was the real freedom. And that's when I knew that the universe had been preparing me to write this book. And that's when I remembered the real power of surrender, because my mother had been demonstrating it. Anyone can be surrendered when you're well fed, you get what you want, your goals, dreams, and desires, you have millions in the bank, but facing your mortality, can you truly surrender in that moment? Can you truly surrender in this moment, in that moment, in that moment? And when you don't get what you want, when the relationship falls apart, when life falls apart, when you're clueless, and so what I saw and what I felt is that surrender is the most powerful thing that we can do.
You're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. And one of the questions I ask all my guests, because this is called the abundance journey.
Okay.
No two people have defined abundance the same way. None. How would you define abundance, given your experience, given the kind of work you do with your clients, given the events that you do?
Abundance is not about what you have. Abundance is about how you feel about who you are and about how you feel about what you have. Abundance is a state of being. You can have billions of dollars in the bank and be poor. You can have nothing in the bank and be abundant. And so abundance is really about being in touch with the true nature of who you are. And what we really are is spirit, is energy, is consciousness, and that is infinite. When you really know what you are, you no longer live in scarcity, because you know that there is an infinite intelligence that's functioning all of life and all things. And to me, to be in connection with that true inner nature is the true foundation of abundance. Otherwise, you're always going to live in scarcity. And to be able to then live in gratitude, right? To be able to live in gratitude is the real abundance and freedom. I remember when I was in India and I walked through the slums in India, literally, the slums, where people make $100 a month, maybe if they're lucky. Some people make $40 a month. And they're so abundant because they're so generous. I sat down in a tiny room of a house, which housed maybe 8 people in this house in the slum, with no toilet, with no shower, and I sat down and they offered me biscuits. I sat down, they offered me, Coca-Cola. I sat down, they offered me snacks. And I realized, wow, there's probably $20 worth of stuff here. This is probably half their salary. And they were living in abundance because they were not living in fear. And so I think abundance is our nature. And so to be in gratitude, to me, and to live in gratitude is abundance. And I think there's a few levels. Number one, to be grateful for what you have. Like, you can't manifest more. Many of us, we're poor because we're so focused on what we don't have and what we're trying to manifest that we miss what's here right now. To be in gratitude for this pen. I mean, 100 years ago, people didn't have this pen, right?
Yeah.
To be in gratitude for an iPhone. Like 30 years ago, the computers were the size of an apartment, right? And so to be able to be in gratitude for what we have, because when you acknowledge and you live in the gratitude of what you have, you're no longer in lack. And when you're no longer in lack, you are in a state of abundance, which shifts your frequency. So that's number one. To be in gratitude for what has happened to you, and because that is another level of abundance. What is all the amazing things that have happened to you in your life, the good, the not so great, because even the not so great have gifted you a blessing. And if we look back at our lives, if anything happened differently, we would not be here right now. If anything happened differently in my life, I would not have met my wife. I would not have my child. I would not be, all of these things. If that breakup didn't happen, I wouldn't be with my wife right now. And so to be in gratitude for everything that has happened in our life. Number three, to be in gratitude for who we are and who we've become. Who am I? So often we don't appreciate who we are. We're so busy comparing ourselves to everyone else that we miss the beauty of the uniqueness and the magnificence of who we are. I would say another level of gratitude and abundance is to be in gratitude for the lessons that you've learned. Because those lessons that you've learned, ultimately we're souls, we incarnate into this human experience in order to learn, in order to grow, in order to evolve. And the lessons that we learn are the real currency of true wealth and abundance. And that's the only thing you take with you is the state of your own consciousness. And so that is true abundance, because all of this other stuff, as great as it is, none of it goes with you to the other side, wherever the other side is. And so to be in the gratitude of just honoring, who am I? Like, wow, I'm amazing. Wow. Just to honor that's another level. The other level, just to wrap up, I would say, is to be in gratitude for the people in your life, like your mom. Like, I think back now, sometimes we get so upset. My mom's calling me again. What I would give for my mother to harass me on the phone, saying, hey, what are you doing? Like, what I would give to just have another cup of tea and do nothing with my mother. So if you have a mother who's alive, a father who's alive, people that are bugging you, be grateful, because the moment they're gone, you realize, wow, I miss my mom's texts. I miss my mom's nagging. I wish she was alive. So gratitude for the people in your life, because we are nothing without connection and people. Gratitude for the things that did not happen, that you really wanted to have happen, right? That relationship, that loss, that heartbreak. Gratitude for that, because if we look back at some of the relationships in our life, I think many of us will say, like, thank God that didn't happen.
Yes.
Thank God. And I think the last level of maybe gratitude to these are ways to connect to the feeling of abundance. Because some people say, well, how do I feel abundance if I don't have, X, Y, Z? It's like, here's the real level of abundance, right? And gratitude. To be in gratitude for the thing that you want that has not happened yet. And rather than waiting for it to happen to be in gratitude, you can be in gratitude before it's happened. It's a pre-gratitude. In order to have it, you have to have it. In order to have it, you have to have it within yourself. And when you can live in the gratitude of, like, thank you for the manifestation. Thank you for the thing manifesting, even though it hasn't manifested. Thank you for it manifesting, and experiencing the gratitude before it's even manifested. As far as your body and your subconscious is concerned, doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. And
it does not.
Then you can live in the abundance even without the physical manifestation of the thing.
So true. So true. There's a reason why I call gratitude the ignition switch to higher consciousness.
Wow, lovely. Lovely.
Because this really is the trigger that changes everything in your life. When you can get into that state of gratitude, and Kute is absolutely right on the money, it is all about the energy that you're feeling inside. It is not about the stuff on the outside. And when I had my stroke at a conversation with the divine, I got a very clear message. Yeah, when you pass on, it's actually a graduation. It's not an ending. There's a whole lot more. In fact, you've been here many times in the past. You'll come many times in the future, because this is actually the expansion joint of the divine. It was explained to me that everything is already love. So if everything's already love and the divine is already love, how do you make more? You have to create human beings who don't think everything is love. We get to experience the contrast of what is wanted and what isn't wanted, and that friction causes us to either step back in fear or step forward in love, vulnerable, open, welcoming, love, so that those messages from the divine can come through. And you had some amazing stories about conversations with your dad. Could you share the story about the tomato juice? Because I love that story.
Oh, I think my father was, he got to be very close to the king of Ghana. Is that the story?
Yes.
Yeah, my father got to be very close to the previous king of Ghana in the Ashanti tribe, which is like the main king. And they found out that my father was in London, and the king of Ghana, Ashanti, had a stroke, and he was in hospital. They called my father up, and my father went to see him, and my father asked the wife to take him out of the hospital to take care of him in his house in London, in the king's house. So my father went to the king's bedside, and he just had a download. He just saw an image of tomato juice. And so he asked the wife to bring the tomato juice. No idea why. And she brings the tomato juice. My father blesses it, prays over it, whatever he does, I'm not sure, something, and gives it to the king to drink. And the king drinks the tomato juice and gets healed. Literally jumped straight out of bed, starts running around. He felt cracks in his body because half his body was paralyzed, so he couldn't walk or move, which is a big thing because, you know, if you're not able to perform your royal duties, you're gone. I mean, you know, you're
Right.
basically, it's over. And so there were people sort of that maybe weren't his fans who wanted to kind of declare the king done. And so there was a lot at stake. And so when my father gave him tomato juice, the king felt these cracks in his body, stood up and jumped out of bed and started dancing around, gave my father a big hug. And that's how they became best friends. And so I asked my father after that, like, did you know this would happen? I said, I had no idea. I simply followed my inner guidance. I simply trusted what I was being guided to do. And he said to me, so I said, how did this happen? How did you heal him? And he said, I don't heal anyone. God does. The infinite intelligence does. And so to me, there's an infinite innate intelligence inside of all of us. If you cut your finger knows how to heal. To me, the same infinite intelligence is breathing you, is breathing me, is breathing all existence. And it knows how to unfold life. Somehow, we all receive guidance, but most of us, we don't listen. Turn left, we turn right.
Right.
Stay away from that person, and we go right. And I remember about in 2009 or thereabouts, I was hanging out with a friend of mine. We were in the parking lot about to depart at lunch, and a friend of hers walks into the parking lot, and they give each other a hug. Beautiful woman. And everything in my gut said, stay away. Stay away. And so what did I do back then? I'm like, well, let's exchange phone numbers. And what did I do? We went on a date. No, it's not really a date, but it was a date. And we ended up in a relationship, which was a complete disaster, right? We know there's a part of us deep down that knows, but so often we don't listen to the knowing. We don't listen to the knowing because the ego mind is constantly trying to rationalize and understand because we're afraid of losing control. If I follow my guidance and it doesn't work out, then I'm going to get hurt, then I'm going to be disappointed, and I'm going to lose control, and I don't want to lose control. But you already know, and I think to truly be powerful, to step into our true higher divine nature, to become masters in this physical domain, we have to begin owning the knowing. Like,
Yes.
We know there's things that you and I have known. We know how powerful we really are, even though we pretend. We know what our deep purpose is, even though we confuse ourselves and we pretend and we play this game of hide and seek. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm confused. We know. And so I would tell everyone, stop pretending. Stop pretending because you know. And so, that's the story of my father.
I love that story. And I loved also that he's like, it's not me. I just stopped making a lot of questions and requirements.
He said, I just get myself out of the way.
Yes.
So
yes.
that the healing that is always happening can happen.
The reason why I start every single interview with an intention, how we want to feel and what we want to create together, the divine showed me that we're like a fireman holding the hose. We're not the water putting out the fire. The divine is putting out the fire, but we've got to aim it. We've got to be really clear on this is where we want this energy to go. And by stepping up and owning that this is our responsibility, and that was another thing I was shown. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm this lowly little ant and God is up there somewhere on high. And, if I earn it. And I was like, I was told, no, you are a full partner with the divine. We are working through you to get things done. And the better you are at hearing the messages,
the divine is the very energy that is moving the ant.
Right.
Is the very energy that is functioning all of life and existence. Right. There's this, like, it's amazing if we really think about it. How do we not trust the divine? We trust Siri. We trust Siri more than we trust the innate divine intelligence. Siri says turn left. We don't question. Okay. Siri could be taking us off a bridge. We just drive off the bridge, right? Siri told me to do it. But the moment the divine or your soul says, hey, write that book. Hey, launch that thing. Hey, whoa. I'm not sure. If I've never done this before. I'm not qualified. Well, maybe. What if it doesn't work out? We don't question Siri. Well, Siri, if I turn left, what if it doesn't work out? If I turn right, we just go. So how do we trust Siri more than we trust the universe?
That is the question of the ages. I love that, Kute. That's so brilliant. That's so insightful. And one of the things I've noticed is that we get to a point where, whenever I want my outside world to change, that's a sign for me that something has to change inside me first.
Yeah.
So what have you noticed is that shift people make, and then the transformation seems to open. And it might be like connecting the dots. There's one thing that shifts,
I don't know if there's just one thing, because I think transformation is a process.
Yes, it is.
It's a process, and to be honest, it's a lifetime path, because we're human beings, with certain, on one level, simple, on another level, complexities. But I would say that the one thing that keeps us stuck, and I maybe talked a bit about this in my book, I forget what's in my book sometimes now, but I think one thing that keeps us stuck, that is a place, I would say maybe a shift that needs to happen, all the ways we lie to ourselves as human beings. As human beings, we are constantly lying to ourselves about who we are, about what we feel, about what we want. We stay in relationships that we know are not aligned. We work jobs that we hate. We say yes when we mean no in order to get love and validation and approval from those around us. And we wonder why we are miserable, because when we lie to ourselves, it is painful, and it's meant to feel painful and miserable. It's not meant to feel good. And so I think that there is no real transformation. You talked about real shift. There's no real shift in transformation without truth.
Yeah.
You cannot truly heal without telling yourself the truth about where you are and where you're not, because it's only by acknowledging where you are that you can shift and do the inner work to clear away what needs to be cleared away, so that you can move in the direction you want to move. And so I would just invite everyone to ask themselves a couple of questions. Number one, what lies am I telling myself? And be brutally honest about that. You have to want to be free more than you want what you have. You have to want to be free more than you want what you think you want. To me, truth is real yoga. Truth is real spiritual practice. Truth is real meditation. So many of us, we go to God and we pray to God, God, help me. And God's like, leave me alone. Don't ask me to clean up the shit that you got yourself into. Like, tell the truth, right? And so if we could just start with the truth, what lies am I telling myself? What am I pretending to not know? What is it costing me? As in, what is the pain? And feel the pain. Many of us, we feel the pain of lying to ourselves, but we distract ourselves. We drink it away, smoke it away, drug it away, sex it away, shop it away, social media it away. We just disconnect it away, just so that we don't have to feel the pain of the disconnection of not being or feeling in alignment, right? And so the thing I would tell people is, take the pressure off of yourself of having to even take any action. Because sometimes the fear of the consequence of taking action is what clouds the ego and blocks the ego from getting really honest. Because the ego's job, that which we mistakenly perceive ourselves to be, the ego's job is to protect you from getting hurt, and the ego's job is to reinforce its existence. And so you talk about truth and surrender for the ego feel like a death. And so the ego doesn't really want to shift. The ego doesn't want to question. The ego doesn't want to tell the truth, because how it has kept you safe for your entire life is by lying about how we felt. No, I'm fine. No, it didn't matter. I don't care that dad wasn't around. I don't need anybody, even though my needs weren't met and that was painful and I felt kind of helpless. I don't need anyone. I'm just going to become independent, not need anyone, not need the universe, not need friends. I'll just do everything by myself. And our heart closes. And so if you can just tell the truth, and that might simply sound like, I hate my job. You don't have to leave, but just get into a relationship with the truth. I'm not in love with this person. You don't have to break up, but just get into a relationship with the truth. I have an alcohol problem. No judgment. Just start with where you're at. Because it's when you acknowledge where you're at that all the feelings can start coming to the surface. And then you can work through those feelings that have been blocking the true connection with your authentic nature.
I love that. And it's not easy to do. Working through those feelings can be really challenging. And I'm sure that people would love to find out more about how they can collaborate with you, how they can work with you. Do you have a link you want to share? I'll make sure it's in the show notes.
Look, I would say that if someone has been inspired by the conversation today, and I've been inspired by your energy as well. So thank you for bringing such great energy to the conversation. Twice a year, I do a special life-changing event in Bali. By the time people listen to this, it'll be somewhere mid-2024. And so the event is called Boundless Bliss, the Bali Breakthrough Experience. I've done this event twice a year for the last 13 years, and I would say it's the most life-changing thing I have done, and I do. People come from all around the world, all around the globe, only 18 people. I take you through a life-changing 12-day experiential seminar training without walls, where I create an experience that is designed to help free you of your conditioning so that you can connect with your truth, with your essence, with your authentic nature, and share your gifts with the world. And so if you're someone who you feel you've been put on the planet for a purpose bigger than yourself and you're ready to heal and transform, December the 5th through the 16th, that's the 5th through the 16th, 12 days with me in Bali, a small group, but we go deep and it's truly life-changing. You can go to www.boundlessblissbali.com. That's boundlessblissbali.com.
I will definitely make sure that that is in the show notes so everyone can check it out. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. And, I have never done this for any of my guests,
Wow.
Kute, but I am going to do something for you.
Wow, I'm excited.
Because I absolutely love your book. And I read books like I eat popcorn.
Wow.
I mean, I read 4 or 5 books a week. And this was so good. This was so good. I always, I love to get electronic books because then I can highlight key passages. And that's why I have so many quotes from you. Yeah. I am going to do a little book club recording of your book and some of the key lessons that I learned from the book. And then I'm going to do my 5 steps to activate abundance, which I'm going to do at the end of the show, but just for your book, because I believe in it so much. And I think it's so important. And there's so many life-changing lessons for people. I really want them to get this, in their bodies, get it, own it, and live it, because this is so transformational. And I truly, truly, deeply appreciate all that you've done to support us. I'll make sure a link to that video is in the show notes too.
Amazing.
And of course, I'm leaving you a video review and all that great stuff on Amazon.
Best.
It's really so great. Now, one of the things that we love to do here at the Abundance Journey Show, we always turn the tables on our guests, because we know that when we give is when we truly receive the most.
Wow.
So what can we do to support you?
For me, my mission is to help people transform and live their true soul's destiny, to awaken their potential and live their true soul's destiny. This is my mission. And it's really what I've lived for. And it's what I've lived for pretty much most of my life. And intentionally, in the last 23 years, this is what I've done. And so I would just love people to get the book and share, spread the word, share the message of the book with everyone they know. Hey, just spread the word, buy someone a book, gift someone a book. And if you're inspired, share the link, for my Bali event, Boundless Bliss Bali. Because for me, these are some of the greatest gifts I can give people. So just helping me get the word out to more people about my work.
Wow. Well, what a blessing to have you join us today. You've left me with a bit of a challenge because I have to take just one of all these brilliant things that you shared with us today to do the 5 steps to activate abundance process. And I've got 3 pages of notes. So yeah, thanks for making my life difficult.
An abundance of
It's an abundance of notes. Absolutely. You are amazing. You are such a gift in this world. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right, everybody, stick around. We're going to activate abundance in just a moment. Hi, it's Elaine Starling, the Abundance Ambassador, and I know since you're listening to this show or watching this show, The Abundance Journey, you really want to experience more abundance in your life. Well, that's why I wrote the book, 5 Steps to Activate Your Abundance. It's available for sale right now from Amazon, from barnesandnoble.com, and many international sellers. And I want you to pick up a copy because I'm really opening the kimono here and sharing all of the information you need to experience abundance in every single aspect of your life. The book's divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is called Meeting the Divine. This is where I share my near-death experience and the conversation I got to have with our higher power during my stroke. In Part 2, Messages from the Divine, I share the best practices that I was given, the secret sauce in how life actually works. And so you understand really why you're here and how you can make the most of your life so you love every single moment. And then in the Part 3 is Partnering with the Divine. That's where I go into each of the 5 steps to activate your abundance and explain exactly why it works so well. So take a moment to pick up a copy. It's available as an ebook, a paperback book, an audiobook, and a video course. So however you like to absorb information, abundance is waiting for you. Can you see why I absolutely adore Kute Blackson? I mean, this guy is amazing. And this is just stream of consciousness based on all of his experience, all that he's learned, all that he's done in his life. Wow. I mean, 3 pages of notes. And I have to activate abundance. Step 1 is always gratitude. Gratitude is the acorn of your abundance tree. Gratitude is the ignition switch to higher consciousness. And I loved when he spent quite a bit of time. Kute was talking about gratitude. That's why I'm going to acknowledge something that I heard that was kind of an aha for me, because I still have to remind myself to be grateful for whatever is happening in my environment. If I am in a conversation with somebody and they're just having a rough day and they're a total cranky pants, sometimes I can feel like, well, I don't deserve to have you taking this out on me, but I don't have to go there, right? That's making it my ego that's stepping up. Instead, I can be grateful that I'm receiving a reminder from the divine to be love in this moment for this person who's going through a difficult time. Whenever someone is irritable, angry, upset, it's not really about you. It's always about a challenge that they are experiencing. And it is a cry for your help and your support. So I'm really grateful that he reminded me about gratitude in all kinds of situations, not just when it's easy. All kinds of situations deserve gratitude. Step 3, appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Well, it stops making me defensive. When I get that aha reminder, that gratitude is needed right now because I am the fireman holding the fire hose that the divine flows through. So if I hear a disaster, if I hear something going on in the news, if I hear anything negative, if somebody's talking to me and they're having a difficult day, that's just the divine tapping me on the shoulder saying, sweetheart, time to send love and blessings where it is most needed. Be present. Be love right now in this moment. And sadly, I get a lot of reminders all day long. I got to step up and be love and aim that love so the divine can step in and help solve these problems. Step 4, activate what you just learned. Activate abundance. We've got 3 different ways we can do that. The first way is grab your calendar and schedule time to get it done. Gratitude is not something you can calendarize. However, I love the idea of journaling. So I put journaling under using your calendar, because when you can get it out of your body, out of your thoughts and onto paper, it gives you that more objective perspective, and you can truly feel the gratitude at a much deeper level. There's something about involving multiple senses. You want to speak it into existence. You want to write it into existence. Those things make it much more tangible and real for you. The second way that we can activate it is to create a physical trigger, like crossing your fingers or tugging on your earlobe as a reminder, gratitude is needed here right now. What can I be grateful for in this moment? How is this moment helping me grow spiritually? Because that's the only thing my soul cares about. Kute was absolutely right on the money there. That is the only thing my soul cares about. In fact, as life gets better and you are more able to show up at that higher level, you get more opportunities and more challenges to get you to really recommit. Yes, I am going to be gratitude no matter what is happening in my life. So either grab a calendar, use a physical trigger, or the third method is to declare to another person, ideally an accountability buddy, what you're going to do and how you're going to focus on gratitude throughout your day. How you're going to do that, what that's going to look like, and how you can go back and see how far you've come. So those are the 3 different ways that you can activate abundance. Step 5, celebrate your progress. You are making such a difference in the world just by your willingness to step up and own who you are. Own your beautiful soul and bring that sense of gratitude, that abundance that you are. That gratitude is the abundance, the beginning of all forms of abundance that you're looking for. That's why these 5 steps start with abundance, baby. It's the acorn of your abundance tree. This is how everything shows up for you. Congratulations. You're in the right place and you're doing so well. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you next time for the Abundance Journey.
You've been listening to the Abundance Journey Show with Elaine Starling. Visit theabundancejourney.com/podcast gifts to access today's gift, as well as gifts from our other guests. Tune in every week to activate abundance in your life and business. If something resonated with you, please share it with your friends so they can benefit too. Keep activating abundance, and we'll see you in the next episode.